Woman helps deaf blind man traveling on her flight. There are moments in the world that allow us to see the beauty in life. It arises around human connection gone right. That's exactly what happened when a deaf blind man had to travel alone. A girl stepped in to aid him. We'll regale the tale in this video. But first, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you never miss an upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. You might wonder how a man, or why a man, who's deaf and blind would travel on an airplane. Tim Cook had gone to visit his sister in Boston. The two of them did not live in the same city. Tim Cook's sister accompanied him to Boston Logan Airport. The two said their farewells. He signed his words into his sister's hand. It must have been nice to be around his sister, as she was a familiar person and she was adept at signing. But the difficulty of a goodbye was compounded by the fact that Tim Cook, who was 64 years old, did not have anyone to help him on his flight back. Imagine being in your 60s and having to deal with the ever-increasing discomfort of flights these days. There seems to be less and less legroom. It can be even harder if you're older, as your joints might stiffen up. For Tim Cook, he must have been brave to attempt these conditions without anyone who could communicate with him properly. The flight attendants did their best to hold down the fort. They held Cook's hand but could not sign. His neighbor gave up an aisle seat so Cook could be more comfortable. They even attempted to predict his needs by putting creamer in his coffee for him. As we all know, though, this is not the same as using sign language. No one really knew what beverage Cook wanted, let alone his other needs. When a flight attendant had a stroke of genius and asked passengers if there was anyone on board who could do signing. It turns out Cook had an angel on board. She was a girl with struggles of her own. She had dyslexia, and she learned signing because it was easier for her than attempting another language. The girl's name was CLARA DALY, and she was 15 years old. And she wouldn't even have been on that flight if her original plan had worked out. She'd booked a fly from Boston directly to Los Angeles. However, that flight was canceled, so she had to take one with a layover in Portland, Oregon. This was perfect because this was Cook's flight. Little did she know that her delay would turn out to be someone else's biggest blessing. LYNETTE Scribner, a retired nurse, took in the scene as Daly helped Cook. She was so struck by the moment that she thought it would be a perfect video snip to put on her Facebook. She, as well as Daly, had a heart to help people. Even though her nursing days were over, she tried to post positive moments on social media to counteract the negativity that can often be present. Cook and Daly really seemed to get along well too. They talked a few times during the flight. Once the pair had a conversation 20 minutes long. They took the time to get to know each other. It's clear that Daly was fascinated by Cook's life story. It turns out that Daly was also visiting a loved one in Boston, her grandmother. Both seemed to be on the same flight for a reason that day. People around the pair felt relief for Cook, it seems. While others might have tried to help, there's nothing like actually being able to connect with another individual. Cook seemed to really relax in the presence of Daly, as the other passengers noted. When Daly was interviewed, she mentioned that she felt that Cook must have a more difficult life having impairment. Her sense of empathy probably also prodded her curiosity, as she asked him many questions. Cook told reporters that he lost his sight and hearing as an adult. He says he understands Helen Keller greatly. Cook now resides in Brookdale Senior Living in a suburb of Portland. He's well taken care of there. He was surprised that his story went viral. What had shocked him is that so many people had an interest in his story. It seems there are no limits for the compassion that people can show each other. It can even just be in the fact that we anticipate others' needs, like Daly learning American Sign Language. And sometimes life prevents fortuitous circumstances where we can use our skills for the good of others.